Hi, third graders. I'm so happy that you're here. I am just going to do a quick rundown of your week one homework packet that you have. And so this is just, I'm going to read the directions. I'm going to tell you any tips that I can think of while we're going through it. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time like doing all of the problems. So if you want to, you can always send me a question. But this is just going to be mostly the directions, and I'm going to go through from the beginning of the packet to the end. Every time I'm going to talk about a page, I'm going to hold it up for you first. So if you want to fast forward through anything, if you don't need directions for that page, that's fine. You can fast forward until you see me hold up the next page, but I'm doing them all in order of the packet. So we'll just get started on this very first page. Looks like this. It says grade 3, that's you guys, and it talks about some of the goals that they have for the learning and some of the visual arts schedule for kind of the whole 8 weeks that they have planned out, even though we didn't take that much home. The back of that is PE, which is physical fitness or a gym class. So obviously we do not want to sit around and become potatoes and just watch Netflix for the whole time that we're not at school. It's got a bunch of ideas for playing, getting moving, getting active, getting our energy out. So that's just a list there. And then it asks you to track the activities that you're doing. It has 2 spaces for every day, Monday 1 and Monday 2, so do 2 activities every day. You're just going to write what the activity is here. This part you're going to check how the intensity level, so how intense was your activity. Very light, it was probably pretty relaxing, maybe even stretching meditation. Moderate means I got excited, but it wasn't like I didn't break a crazy sweat. And then vigorous, that third box there, is where I totally got a crazy sweat. My heart was pounding, I sweated, I really worked hard. That would be an intense workout, vigorous intensity. The third place is how long did you do that activity? And then this final checkbox here, you're going to choose one of these. Actually, you could choose more than one. The first one is aerobic. That means your heart rate was going. The second one is muscular, so anything that builds muscles makes you stronger. And the last one is flexibility, so stretching and becoming more flexible. You're just going to check that off. So that's just for you to keep track of your physical fitness. At the very, very bottom, there are some questions for you to look back over the week and think about your fitness activities that you did and make changes if you want. The next page is this one. Okay, so I'm holding this up. If you don't need this page, you can go forward. If you do want to hear about this page, then you will just keep listening. So on this page, it talks about the goals for math that they have. It talks about how to know if your math work is good, and really this kind of works for everything. It says, number 1, did I do my best? Number 2, did I show my work if it was necessary? So will my teacher know what I was thinking by what I wrote here? Again, if you just answer a question with because it's good, probably your teacher doesn't know what you're talking about. So got to show all your work. Did you go back and check over it? Because you can do that. And the last one is, did you complete the exit ticket? But really it means just the whole thing. Everything on every page, did you finish it? What if I need help? Here are some good websites here. Over there, there's some good websites that you can look up if you need some help with some of these topics. Also, at the bottom, there are just some tools. Okay, so these are just tools for you guys to keep you thinking about your math strategies and what we have learned in class. There's a place value chart. This would be something like where you could set up a stamp game problem. How many units, how many tens, how many hundreds, and if you're adding or subtracting or even multiplying, you can make the same number multiple times, like stamp game multiplication, in a chart like this, which you can draw on your own paper if you want. There's also just a 100 chart, remind us of some of our patterns and numbers. I'm going to take a quick break from the packet to just remind you guys a couple of quick things that you guys know, especially as Montessorians. You probably won't be using golden beads a ton. Oh, that's my unicorn folder. You probably won't be using golden beads a ton. Nope, this side. But if you want to, we remember how to represent those with units are dots and tens are sticks and hundreds are squares. You can also draw thousands by making them into a cube, which is probably a different lesson. We also can represent things with stamp games using colored squares for our stamp game material or labeled squares. So here's the number 22 and I have 2 units. I put a number 1 in there. It's hard to see. And 2 tens. I put the 10 on each of those stamps. Okay, so even if you don't have colors, you can still represent the stamp game. You might want to use that place value chart. This one, if you don't have colors, might help you keep organized a little bit with stamp game materials. One thing specifically for 3rd graders I wanted to show you guys is that you guys now know 2 different kinds of number bonds that can help you to organize your fact families or possibly figure out missing number equations and things like that. So you guys know in a plus minus, okay, an addition of subtraction number bond, this is the whole number, and I'm just going to use some simple numbers for us to be thinking about here. This is the whole number, so I'm going to say 10 is the whole number, and then these in a plus minus, these are just 2 parts. It's like I had 10 Snicker bars in here, and if I put 2 Snicker bars over here, how many do I have left? Well, I know from my 10 friends, 8 and 2 are 10 friends, so I must have 8 Snicker bars left. These 2 parts, 8 and 2, come together and make up a 10, right? I can make number families from that. 2, these we generally tend to add. 2 plus 8 is 10. 8 plus 2 is 10. And then also, remember when I just had the 10, if I take away 2, I have 8 left, so 10 minus 2 is 8. And then it makes sense if I had all 10 in here, 10 minus 8 is 2. So I can use my plus minus number bond to represent 2 parts of the whole. You guys, as 3rd graders, have also started working with multiplication and division number bonds. Okay, now your product, the biggest number that 2 numbers would make if you multiplied them. Okay, your product still goes on top. It's always your biggest number. I'm trying to think how I want to show this, because we could still do it with 10 and 2, but let's not get ourselves too confused. So let's say let's use a big one like 12. Yeah. So 12, okay, remember it's multiplication and division, okay? So if I put a 3 down here, I would be saying 3 times what equals 12. And so if I know my factors of that, I know, well, let's count them. Let's count our 3's. Let's figure it out. 3, 6, 9, 12. How many 3's? 4 3's. So 3 taken 4 times, or 4 groups of 3, equals 12. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 3 is 12. Awesome. These are my factors and my product. Okay, so it's not anymore. 3 plus 4 would be 7, so that doesn't work. We're multiplying. If you multiply this way, okay, you multiply here to get the big number, then you can divide down the legs. We're not subtracting because the opposite of multiplication is division. So if I divide down the legs here, I can get 3 divide, 3. I'm pointing to things, but I'm backwards in the camera. Let me start over. 12 divided by 3 equals 4. It's the only other number in our fact family. And it makes sense. If I have 12 cookies and 3 friends, okay, so again, here's your other strategy. I'm going to check my number bond by using another strategy. This is our division board strategy. I said I have 3 friends and I have 12 cookies. Ready? Let me pass them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know if you can see that, but every friend got exactly 4 cookies. Okay? So that just proved 12 divided by 3 means everybody gets 4. 12 divided by 4 would mean everybody gets 3. So that is just strategies. You've got number bonds. You can build yourself arrays. You can do the division board. You can use the 100 chart, place value, stamp game. You guys have so many tools. So that part is just a rundown of the tools that you can use to do the rest of your math problems. So on to this page. Okay. Even though we were just talking about addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, this one starts right off with fractions. So what I need you to remember about fractions, they're asking you to color the fraction. What you need to remember is that the bottom number, and you'll know it because it matches, the bottom number is how many pieces, how many equal pieces we have all together. The top number is how many we're talking about. So you can see right there, the bottom number is 3. Are there 3 equal pieces? Yep. The top number is 1. So I'm going to color 1 out of 3 pieces. If you want to, you could make it even more fun. Let's look at this next one. It says that there should be 6 pieces altogether. Let's check. Let's make sure they're not tricking us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces altogether. Fabulous. And it wants me to color 2 of them. Going to get exciting here. So just throw a little bit of color on there. I've colored 2 out of 6 pieces, or 2/6 of the whole. Complete that whole page that same way. At the very bottom, it's going to give you a word problem. I suggest you draw pictures for your strategy. Sally cut her brownie into 6 equal pieces. She ate 1 piece. Draw a model below to show Sally's brownie. And hopefully it doesn't make you too hungry, because now I want to have brownies. On the back of yours, on the back of that paper, oops, I got a little bleed through from my marker, so watch out for that. On the back of that paper is money. We're counting coins. The things that you need to remember, the small copper ones are pennies. They're worth 1 cent. The largest ones are quarters. They're 25. Dimes are the smallest. They're worth 10. And let's see, that's another quarter. Those like medium-sized silver ones are nickels, and they're worth 5. If it was me, I might label that right across the top if I'm having any trouble remembering. I like to see if I can combine things to make friendly numbers first. So I don't just add straight across. Remember, we've talked about that. If you say like 1 plus 1 is 2 plus 25, okay, well that's 27. Okay, and then I'm going to add another 10, and well, it's 37, but then 25, and now I have to carry numbers. You can do that. You can absolutely just label them, add them straight across. If that was what works for you, that's great. For me, I like to add some friendly numbers first. So I'm going to look at my problem. And one thing I notice is that I've got 2 quarters in this first problem. And 2 quarters together makes 50 cents. So I'm just going to mark them I got this quarter and I got this quarter, and in my mind even, I can do it mentally and say, that's 50 cents. Can you see that? I just marked it like that. And I marked my quarters. I added them already, 50 cents. Now to 50, it's really easy to add a 10. So I'm going to see, yep, I got a dime, 50 and 10 is 60. Then I'm going to go to my nickels, 60 and 5, 65, 70. Okay. And then from 70, it's really easy to count on by 1. 70, 71, 72, 73. I've counted them all, and my answer was 73. So I just kind of made that, I use what I know about quarters to make a nice friendly number instead of trying to add 27 and 39. Like I just used them and made friendly numbers. Now look at, I'm going to skip number 2. You can use your strategies there, usually adding from the most value to the least. But let's look at number 3, because I'm going to do, let me see, number 3. Yeah, let's do number 3. So for number 3, if I start with my quarters, I've got 1, 2, I said that was 50, and another quarter. I know that 3 quarters is 75 cents. So I'm going to start thinking about 75. But then for me, the easiest thing is to quick put another 5 on there if I have it, so that I quickly get to 80, which is a nice friendly number. So I've got a nickel right here, that's 5. So 75, 80. Then I'm going to add my dimes. 90. I've got another nickel now. 95. All pennies, count by 1. 96, 97, 98, 99. I've counted them all. The total was 99, and I'm going to put that on there. Now, I have to ask, was that 99 kittens in a rowboat? Or 99 sneezes? Nope, it's 99 cents. And since we're counting money, I want to make sure that I label 99 cents. And I'm going to come back up here. I should have done this before, but I was thinking about my strategies. So that's part of checking my work. I go back and look, oh, I've missed something, and I'm going to label that too. So please label your work. Use whatever strategies you want to add up all your coins. I've done 2 for you. At the bottom, Giovanni, it's just a girl's name or maybe a boy's name, paid 89 cents for a pack of gum. Draw 3 different ways that Giovanni could have paid for his gum. There it tells us it's a boy. It doesn't have to be. So you're going to draw 3 different ways to show 89 cents, and I'm sure that you guys are all over this, but I did make a quick drawing coins on here. So just make sure that you are labeling. You can't just draw random circles. We don't know what they mean. If you do pennies, you can either put a 1 or a P. Nickels, you can put a 5 or an N. Dimes, a 10 or a D. And obviously, I'll put our quarters on there. They are 25 or a Q. Okay? So if you are drawing out some strategies for Giovanni, just make sure you're labeling your coins or we won't know what you're talking about. This page. Units of length, inches, feet, yards, and miles. We've been talking a lot about that while we do area and perimeter. So it's just a measurement worksheet. It wants you to circle the proper unit for each of the following, okay? So think about this. It's pretty nice. They actually put right at the top, they put things in order from smallest unit, inches, to largest unit, miles. Okay, so right there at the top, it gives you a pretty good hint. An inch is about the size of your thumb knuckle from here to here. Even if you don't have a ruler at home, you can picture that in your mind. That's 1 inch. A foot is about the size of your foot. Go figure, not exactly. A yard is like a yardstick. It might be about how tall you are, or a little shorter. And a mile is something you drive in a car or you run in a race. It's longer than how tall you are, okay? So they're going to ask you some particular things you might want to measure and ask, how are you going to measure it? So the first one says the distance between two continents. Okay, I'm going to try to picture how far away I am right now from even the closest continent, which is, let's say, South America. Do I want to measure the distance between me and South America in inches? Even in feet? Yards? Probably not. I'm going to at least use miles, okay? And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. When we're talking, oh, I'm going to go to Disneyland, it's 800 miles away, right? When we're doing a far distance, we use miles. I just made that number up. I don't know how far Disneyland is exactly, but we could look it up. So I'm just going to circle miles. It says, would you use inches, yards, or miles? Well, I'm going to use miles. That would be crazy to use anything else. The distance of a marathon race. A marathon race. Now, marathon means really long, goes on and on and on. So it's probably not a couple of feet because I could run in a couple of feet in a couple of seconds. So it's probably not feet. Yards. Well, a yard's really only 3 feet. It's probably not yards either. That would probably be a sprint. So again, it's probably miles. And people say, you know, I ran a race, I ran 5 miles. So I'm going to guess that's miles too. Okay. So that's what you're doing. You're going to think, what would it make the most sense to measure with? Circle one for each choice. At the bottom here, it says, choose one item in your house and identify if you would measure its length in inches, feet, or yards, and tell why. So if I said to myself, I'm going to measure my sunglasses. Yes, I have a backup here. I'm going to measure my sunglasses. Would I measure these in yards or miles? No, it's only a part of any of that. I probably wouldn't even measure it in feet. I'm going to measure in inches. But then I have to talk about why. So I might say, well, I know that they're so small, they're not even going to be 1 full foot. So instead of trying to figure out a fraction or a part of a measurement, I'm going to use inches so that I can be the most accurate. So you're going to choose any object in your house. How would you measure it? Are you going to choose your refrigerator, your bed, your backyard? I don't care. Anything at your house, your wall, and then tell me how you're going to measure that and why. This page, it is multiplication facts. My advice to you is to really do your best to try to remember your facts. You guys have all gone through the multiplication facts quizzes. You've done almost every family. You did them some last year. And to really go through and try your best to just remember, to not count, to not skip count, to not look at your fingers, and really just remember. Some of them are going to be really more obvious. 9 taken 1 time. If I reached into the bead bar box and I got the number 9 and I did it 1 time, how many would I have? 9. Anything times 1 is itself. You don't really need to count. You don't need to draw anything. So go through first and try to do as many as you can remember first, and then go back and tackle those ones that you're not really sure about. Oh man, what was 8 times 6? Oh, what was 8 times 6? I'm really having trouble to remember that one. Well, I do know I can find out 8 times 5 pretty quick. And then times 6 is just going to be 1 more 8, right? So I can do 8 times 5 pretty fast because I can count by 5s. Ready? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, right? So 8 times 5 is 40, right? And then I just need one more 8 to make 8 6 times instead of 5 times. So 40 plus 8, well, that's easy. I'm adding 8 to 0, 48. Okay, so you can use any strategy. If you get down to it, you can draw an array, you can skip count, you can use your fact families, your number bonds. We're just going to do all of these facts. At the very bottom, this exit ticket square down here says, choose one fact above, whatever you like, write a story problem, and how to solve it using an area model or an array. Okay, so remember, you can do an array where you draw all of the dots in columns and rows, but you could use a rectangle and do an area model as well. So writing a story problem, if you make sure you're using multiplication, so you might use an area model like my garden is this many feet by this many feet. You might use an array model like I have bags of candy I'm passing out. I have this many bags and this much candy in each. Just make sure that you are multiplying the same number, equal groups. Okay. This one is a little brain teaser. It says, using the digits 1 to 9 exactly one time each, place a digit place a digit in each box to make the sum, so we're adding, as close to 1,000 as possible. So you kind of have to get a little bit specific here. I'm just reading down here some like hint questions that they have. It says, how do you know, like how will you know when you can't get any closer to 100 or to 1,000, I mean, what should be true about the hundreds places of your three numbers, and how do the tens places affect your answer? So it might be a little bit of a trial and error. So remember, you can only use every number once. I'm trying to get up to 1,000. So let's say I start with 900, a number that's 900 something. It's pretty close, right? But but that means I've got to put something in these 100 places. 900, even if I have a 100 here, well, that's already 1,000. And then I'm going to go way over because of the number that I put here. So maybe I don't want a 900. That's just a place to start though. I could try 8. I'm going to try 812. That's 812, 812. Now can I put a 200 here? Nope, because I've already used the 2. So you're only going to use the numbers 1 to 9 one time. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 boxes, so you're only going to use them once, but you're going to use all 9 numbers. So I would just try some things out. I would try 812 plus 456 plus, I don't know what I have left, 300, I forget what I just said, 379. And I would just try them and add them. I can look right away at that number that I just said though, and I know that I'm going to be kind of way over because of my hundreds place. So that is a good hint down here, is thinking about your hundreds places. And are they going to get you way over 1,000 or not? And the bottom of this page is just your workspace. So you're going to make 3 numbers, you're going to think of 3 numbers, you're going to make sure that it's just one time for each digit, and you're going to write them down and add them up and see where it comes out. And ask yourself, did I go over? Do I think I could get closer? How could I rearrange this a little bit? Rearrange, try it again. It's just your workspace. Try it out. Okay? So it's kind of a little brain teaser. That was the end of math. So here is your language. The directions are read the passage and answer the questions, converting energy to motion. So I know right from that we're going to talk about energy and motion. I know a lot of things about that. Where do I get energy from? What does it mean to be in motion? How am I using energy? So right when I read the title, I'm going to start making some connections and thinking to myself. You can private message me if you need somebody to read this out loud to, or to have somebody read out loud to you. I will be happy to do that. It's a little bit longer passage though, so I'm going to go ahead and let you read that to yourself. You might want to pause the video right now. Okay, so after you have had a chance to read the passage to yourself, you are going to answer these 5 questions at the bottom. Please do make sure that you are always going back to your text, looking for your evidence. Number 1, what is energy? They are just asking for a definition. A good sentence starter would be energy is. What is energy? Energy is. And I bet that you can find that information in the passage, probably near the beginning, since energy is what we're talking about. So make sure you're going back to find that answer. Number 2, energy that is based on an object's position is called, okay, return up here. I'm looking for the part where I read about energy based on an object's position. An object's position. Oh, okay. So find your evidence, gather what you want to know or what you want to say, and then make sure you're putting it into a sentence. This kind of energy is called. Okay, so make sure that you're writing a whole sentence. Number 3 is what is another name for energy of motion. So go back to the section where they're talking about energy of motion. Okay, and it's right here. I'll give you a hint in the 3rd paragraph. They begin talking about energy of motion when things move. Number 4, what is another way to say changes into? Okay, just scanning with my eyes, I can see, and they're kind of doing it in order, that here's the word changes down here. And so probably, oh yeah, somewhere in here is going to be the word you're looking for. Remember, what's another way to say? That's like a synonym, another word for changes into. Okay, so that's going to be here in 4. Number 5, it asks you to go back and what is kinetic energy? What is it? Look at the passage, define it, find a good sentence, write it down for you. Okay, so that is your passage and finding evidence and answering questions. On the next page, I think this is how everybody's printed. At the top here, it says, how did I do on the assignment? Circle 1, that's talking about your reading. So did you get evidence? Did you understand the story? Did you read it more than one time so that you could, make sure that you were really getting all the details? How did you do? Circle one of those faces. It's a self-evaluation. Then we begin our social studies. Okay, so it's a cultural work. The directions: read Grandma's pictures. Oh, look, that's down here. Read Grandma's pictures, then create a personal timeline containing either your own pictures or pictures of an event that you draw yourself. Make sure it's colorful. Do your best. If you really don't have too many colors, then add a lot of details. Then write a report about your family and the events on your timeline. Write it from your point of view, 3 to 5 paragraphs. If you're writing from your own point of view, you're going to say things like I. Even if you are making up an event and doing a timeline of an event that you are imagining, you're still going to talk about I like you were there. So step 1 was read this. Again, you probably want to read it a couple of times. It's a story about Grandma's pictures, somebody looking through and discussing time and how time passes with their grandma. Then you are going to create a timeline where you draw pictures or make up pictures of the event. So again, on a blank piece of paper, you're going to get something, blank piece of paper, piece of cardboard, the back of one of these works where you have some extra room, a timeline. If you are doing your very best, I don't know if I can do this in the air, but if you are doing your very best, you're going to use a ruler or something straight. Nope. A ruler or something straight to begin your line. You're going to start on one side with the thing that happened the earliest, and you're going to make a little mark, and you're going to put a picture there of something that happened the earliest. I'm going to suggest you draw them. Possibly you could cut some out of a magazine and paste it on there. It's up to you. If you're doing a timeline like of your life, a personal timeline, the very first thing that probably happened to you was that you were born. You were a baby. So you'd put your birthday. If Miss Camille was doing this, I would say February 5th, 1981. And I would draw a picture of the cutest baby on the planet when I was born. Okay, obviously I'm going to lay out my whole timeline. I'm going to go back and add details like dates, maybe labels, and make sure that I make it really colorful because that's the directions. If you were doing an event, it might be if you were doing field day, the very first thing that happens is we come in the morning and we say good morning. That's the first thing if you want to get very detailed. The second thing might be that the third graders visit their new fourth grade classrooms. And you could imagine what that's going to be like for your timeline. So lots of options. You can do any event or yourself that you want to. And that is your social studies assignment. I believe you don't have to do that all in 1 week. I believe that carries on. So it's kind of more like a project, a longer term thing. You can add a couple of events maybe every week. At the very end, so here is like a little tiny space. For me, I think I would need a whole piece of paper, but if you think you can do it really tiny, I don't think you're going to get very many colors in there, so maybe the back is open. How do I know if my work is good? Did I take my time? Did you? Does my work have good craftsmanship? That means I used my best handwriting. I didn't scribble anything. Did I create a variety of lines? So did you do a couple of different, points on your timeline? That is all that I have for the third grade packet. I do think that there are some music assignments and some fine arts assignments in your packet as well, which I think if you need to, you can send me a message. I will answer any questions that I can about them, but I think that is kind of more things that you guys can follow as you look through those on your own. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you got just what you need, and I'll see you again really soon. Can't wait. Bye.